So, hello Tina. Today is going to be working on the cover for Second Revolution Volume 4. Just getting everything ready. Debating if I'm going to do the full color for the cover tonight. I hear a lot of noise. Let's see if I can lower the gain a little bit. I think that should be better. Let's see. Hopefully this thing pairs and doesn't give up on me halfway through this. So while I wait, I'm going to start setting up some layers. It's something I learned a long time ago. Always make sure you have all your layers set up. I need to get like a new type of headset. The cable keeps getting in the way. I'm gonna fix this thing first. I think it's too thick. Two times. That looks better. Trying to see if anybody else comes in before I start. Line work is pretty good. So let's see. I was debating on what colors to use for this guy because I really didn't have anything planned out for the colors yet. It's kind of weird. Why is that cut off at the bottom? Alright, so that means I gotta do some fixes right now before I actually start coloring. And it's actually not too hard. Actually, let me see. Maybe that's better. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I got cut off like this. It wasn't like this earlier. But that should be good. Let me just make sure everything else is where it should be. Yeah, that's it. I think because since I was drawing with the text on it, I didn't really realize I didn't complete the line work. Fix this up. Alright. Okay, let's do this. I was thinking of doing like an off-white, just for the clothing part. Try to see if I can do it with some blue in it. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if I have everything set up the right way. And I pretty much do. Let me see if I can go a little bit more. So I have everything set up just to do the paint bucket tool, so I don't have to actually worry about having to really use this as a brush. And I know a lot of this is gonna get kind of cut off because you can see the trim and bleed lines where they're at. And when I did the preview for the actual, to see how it looks like in the comic sense, definitely it's going to be a bit tighter than what it looks like here. Hello Comic Society. I gotta clean some of these lines up too while I'm at it. It's like a whole process when it comes to coloring. Gotta make sure everything looks clean. I know there's like a lot of people who use Clip Studio. They have like a whole method to work with any of these extra lines. So just like they overlap, not connected. I've been having trouble with this thing lately. Like it loses the pairing for some reason. So it's like no matter what I do, it'll work and then it'll lose the pairing. I'm trying to think. This is going to be the hard part. All this right here. If you can see the cursor. Trying to think in color. So eventually, yeah, I'm gonna have to like go into highlights and shadows. But these are just the flats, and I work flats differently from everybody else. I just don't make everything just one solid color. I just go right into it. I don't want it to be like too close to the blue I was using before. And you hear all that sound. It's just that I do live in New York. I live near two real main streets, and there's always traffic going by all hours. Hello to everybody who just recently joined. Let's see, not liking that. Why does it always seem like it's a lot darker than what it looks like on the color wheel? Now I have to remember something. Yeah, this should work. just so you know. Too dark, too dark. Too dark like that. Need some decent midtones. I know some people who do professional coloring, they're probably looking at what I'm doing, they're like, oh my god. You're actually using the paint bucket tool and you have your layers under the line art. But, like I've always said, talk to 100 comic book artists and you're gonna have 100 different ways of doing things. There's like, I honestly think there's like no real right or wrong way of doing this. It's just whatever you feel comfortable with. Another thing about this tab, it's so sensitive. I think they made a different one for the new version of Clip Studio. Because when I was looking it up, they said that the version I'm using isn't compatible with the 4 version. And sometimes it scrolls, sometimes it doesn't. I think I set this thing up to be like an hour and a half today. See how much I can do in an hour and a half. Let's just make sure this is all in. My biggest debate was figuring out what I'm going to do with the hoses, what color they're going to be. But before I even get to that, I'm going to finish this thing up. So I tend to work in a lot of different layers. Not so much. I've seen people have, for one piece, like 20 separate layers. Or they'll have a whole bunch of folders and a whole bunch of layers in a folder. I used to be like that when I used to do things on Photoshop. Almost like to the point that it was like individual, like it was like for a limb, torso, the thigh, the forearm, I would have separate layers depending on for what it was. Like if it was something like what I'm doing here, I would have had a layer for the helmet, I would have had a layer for the shoulders, I would have had one for the chest, I would have had one for the belt. And it's just too much. Way too much. So what I've learned to do is just kind of make one flat layer, and for certain elements I'll have a separate layer. Like for the hose, these two hoses, they're gonna have a separate color layer because there's gonna be something I need to do that for specifically for that. Okay, let me get to the next one. I usually work when I do shadowing in overlay, And as funny as it sounds, I don't work with the color that's being used. I just use black and white. It's like really noisy around here. I don't have a setup to have like a soundproof room. So let's see. How am I gonna do this? I've been experimenting a lot with the lasso film because it's very it gives everything a lot more character than if I was doing it just like with like an airbrush or with like another type of pen. It's gonna be a little messy, but it's okay. For the highlights, I'm not going to be using, for the highlights and shadows, I won't be using the symmetry tool for that. It just doesn't look good. Funny thing that I'm thinking right now is that they're not going to be, since my comic Second Revolution, it's a black and white comic, I am not going to try to go too crazy with the tones on volume 4 like I did with volume 5. The first 3 volumes, my mistake, I'm not even up to 5. Okay, that one's definitely going to have to, let's see how this looks. So there we go. So definitely for the highlight, I'm just gonna use the same color that is initially on the armor. One of the big inspirations that I have comic wise is a manga called Saint Seiya, and they tried to do a release here in the States around the 2000s, like late 2000s. It wasn't very well received because they edited so much from it. Because I did see it when I was in Ecuador a couple of years ago, and I lived there for a while, and my cousins were like, oh my god, have you ever heard of this series? Have you seen the series that they give it in the States? All that stuff. I'm like, I had no idea what this was, but the English version, it's called Knights of the Zodiac. And basically, all the characters wear armors based on the 88 constellations. And that's where I kind of learned how to do like armor stuff for my characters, for my story. And it's not looking too bad. I want to try something. That's like kind of another thing about me, that I'll do something and then it'll look good. Let me save it. And then I'm gonna try to see if I can make it a little bit better. Let me see. I think that's lower the density a little bit. Let's see if we lower the density. Alright, that's not bad actually. I think I'm gonna continue like that. So I'm using a blending tool, but I'm trying to like not go just like kind of like just having the brush go all over the place. I'm trying to do this so it looks very, I'm trying to think of the word, like blending it so it actually looks like there's a gradation. Now that's like one thing I used to do a lot when it came to armor pieces. I used to do a lot of gradations, but it takes a lot of work because obviously you got to use the lasso tool. You got to select the area you want to do the gradation in. You got to make sure everything kind of like blends pretty well together in the gradation. Now I'm doing this right now just for these main parts, and again I'm just being really careful. Make sure that it looks blended nicely. So that's actually not too bad, at least my opinion. If anybody has their own opinion or they got probably a better way of doing this, I'm all ears. Constantly trying to learn how to do things differently. Let's see. Now definitely for this section down here, since it should be in shadow, I'm probably gonna do it by hand. Oops, wrong tool. Nice and simple. There's going to be a unique highlight I'm going to set up for this, so I'm making sure that I have like enough space for it. Again, I'm not using the symmetry tool for this kind of stuff. Now, let's see. Just gonna have this here. It's not too bad, but not great. Again, I'm just using the same blue. A little bit of highlight there. Alright, I gotta work on the belt because I forgot about that. it's gonna be like a funny thing, but growing up, I was really into the 90s, like X-Men run. And I also got into it when they kind of did like a whole like revamping of the teams. And one of the first comics I got, because I wasn't really into like the New Mutants themselves, even though like I've heard that the book is really good. It just wasn't something that piqued my interest. I've never been a fan of like teenage superheroes kind of thing, so that's why I never really gave it a chance. But when they became X-Force, it was a different story. And I always remember the Rob Liefeld. He was the one in drawing and had some writing duties on X-Force. And I don't know what it was, but everybody rags on him about all the pouches, and like kind of like this belt design is something I kind of took from what he used to do. I always remember that I was in high school at the time, and always debating with like my classmate of mine, like who was a better artist, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld. His whole thing was Rob Liefeld was a better artist. So like Jim Lee was the artist I liked, because he was just like I think somebody called it hyperrealism, the way he would draw things. And it's actually kind of true, especially when he started doing his own thing, like when he started drawing Wildcats. So I always remember this, like I think it was issue 1, that there was a 2-page spread of when Zealot saves Marlowe from one of the Damians, I think they were called, or Damonites, I forgot what they were called. And it literally looked like so photorealistic. That's the only way I can describe it. It just looks so photorealistic the way he drew her. And my brother, when he saw it, he was like, "It's just like a picture. Did he draw it?" I'm like, "It looks like it's drawn." Alright, let me see. What was I gonna do? I'm not being... Let's give it some dimensionality about there. Just a little bit of blending so it doesn't look too hard. Okay, so it's not too bad. I'm thinking, let me see something. Yeah, that was just me. That's how I tend to like process my thoughts. Like, start drumming something with my fingers. Alright, let me see what I'm going to do with the hose. Because because like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be something different from separate from the other colors that I did. Double checking. Oh, of course, I was on the wrong layer. Always make sure you're on the right layer. Else a lot of work can be just gone. Okay, so now I gotta work on the background. So see if I can get this set up. First things first, I label all my layers, all of them. I'm gonna lock this one. Now this is where I'm going to start getting a bit more experimental on what I want to do. Okay, first things first. That's what I mean by experimental. I'm just gonna try something. Just to make it pop out a bit more. You know, it's kind of funny. It's like I have like kind of pretty animated when I'm doing things, and my hands just tend to move around a lot. See. Alright, now this is what I'm gonna try. I do mean try. There we go. Alright, let me see something. Yeah, that's working. Hello, everybody else that joined in. I do apologize if I'm not responding. I seriously need a moderator or something. I'm looking at the time I've been on, and honestly, I've been pretty quick with this. It's surprising. So the brushes I'm using right now, these pens actually, I got them right from Clip Studio. Is the assets. Now that was like the one thing is that I had created a bunch of brushes. But I didn't save them on the cloud, and I lost them all when my previous computer, the motherboard, gave out on me. So make sure I label these the right way. Let's see if I take off the glow, what it looks like. That's without the glow. Okay. Give me scrolling through all the layer options to see what I got. Lighting's not too bad. That's color dodge. That's add. That's glow. The glow looks just better, but I want to see what everything else it looks like. It's a pen light. It's a light and color. Light and color, it helps the bottom part pop out more. But the whole thing is that when this gets printed, a lot of this is cut out, so it doesn't matter so much to me. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna keep it at that. It's not too bad. Let me see something. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it at that. Now, I'm trying to sing. Oh, I lost my train of thought for a second. Things like popped up to see if anybody else joined in. So now comes the other part. Now I'm debating a lot because I'm not liking this blue right now. Like, I'm not liking this at all. So I'm thinking of changing it. Because the thing is that in the comic it's gonna look white. Oh, I did forget to do something. It's like been staring me at the face for the longest time, but I completely forgot to do this piece right here. Completely forgot about that part. Just trying to get rid of some of the harder edges. Well, like I'm saying, I'm not feeling this blue here. I don't want to make it gray either because it's going to just blend in with this. So I'm trying to see what I can do. And we turn this off for now. Because if I go too white, this doesn't work. Black and white comic, it works. But not on this. Trying to figure out what to do. Because it's like in the comic I'm drawing, they're basically like the clothing is gonna be, I want to keep it white, and everything else will have like some type of like gray toning on it. That was always the plan. But now I'm thinking I don't want to make it black, because the psychics, they tend to wear like black jackets, and I think what I'm gonna do with the ones that are working with them, they have gray, so this is for them to stand out. So this is why I wanted it to be like a light color. Let's see what other options I have. I never studied color theory. Well, actually, I can't say that. I did in college, but it never like stuck with me. And I don't want to lower the saturation. I gotta think. Because the whole thing is that whatever I do here is gonna basically have to match what's in the comic. So let's see what I can do. That already blended in with that. Oh, this is tough. Any suggestions? It's hard to figure out what to do. Because normally, so a lot of times when people, they do white, they go with blues. So that's what I'm trying to see what I can do. actually. Let's see something. So for effect, I'm gonna have to like, whoops, wrong layer. Gonna redo this part. I'm actually just gonna do it one section just to see what it looks like. Let's see if I go pure white. Kind of, sort of. Alright, I have an idea what I'm gonna do. So definitely for the weight, I'm gonna stick to what the undercolor, the clothing color is gonna be. I'm not a professional colorist. I've done color flats for other comics, but I have my own way of doing things for my comic. All right, that's not too bad. On these two. What was I talking about before? I can't remember. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Alright, so basically, Saint Seiya is it's from the 80s. Like, it's an old anime, but if you can watch Dragon Ball, you can watch Saint Seiya. And honestly, I might get some hate for this, but I do feel like the progress of the characters for Saint Seiya was better than Dragon Ball. Most part is that they did grow in power as the story went on, but it was more by sheer will, and they needed to do so in order to basically overcome what challenge they were facing at that moment. And it wasn't like a permanent power up. They interviewed the creator. They were asking because, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that Saint Seiya is based on the characters. They wear armor based on the 88 constellations. I'm sorry, losing my train of thought. And there's 3 different tiers. You have bronze, which is the lowest tier, and they have the most amount of saints. That's what the warriors are called, saints. And then you have silver, and they tend to be more of like a specialized unit. They tend to take care of bigger threats and tend to be like field commanders when they have to go into like battles with other gods. And then you have the gold saints, which are based on the 12 zodiac signs. Now the thing with basically the power scaling is that they train and are in a sense born with that certain level of power. It's not like they just can just like go into like a hyperbolic time chamber and stay there for a month, and it'll be the equivalent of like 40 days for us or whatever. I forgot how that thing works. They have to push themselves to obtain a higher power level. And that's kind of one of the things it is that it's kind of like if you're an athlete and you know you're like moments away from either winning or losing, and then you gotta push. You gotta get that last push. You gotta get that last bit of adrenaline rush coming through. That's kind of how it works for them. And once they achieve that higher level, they kind of call it an explosion of their cosmos, which is like what their power is called. Now they could have simply just went like, okay, well, season 1 they were bronze. Season 2 they're gonna move up to silver, and then probably in the following story they'll be promoted to be the next gold saints, and they'll wear the armor that's based on their birth sign. Like, I'm a Leo, so that probably would have been like if I was a character in that story, that probably would have been the armor I would have worn if I ever got to that high level. Now, let me see. Oh, I forgot to do it here. And I think that's like one of the things that kind of attracted me to that story, is that it's more like you gotta push yourself at critical moments to get things done to reach your goal. Like, I'm not gonna knock Dragon Ball or any of the fans, but I feel like it's a series that should have finished a long time ago, and they're just trying to milk it as much as they can. I think for Dragon Ball, like, my favorite saga was the Cell and Androids. It just felt like a really great story. and the fact that they were trying to kind of push Gohan into being the next hero of the series, but it kind of didn't work out. Everybody really loved Goku as the main hero. And I don't see anything wrong with that because they've been with the series for so long. That's who they're used to seeing. And it's kind of hard transitioning heroes that you're used to seeing in a story and bringing in somebody new. Like, I have the Shonen app, and I do read. I read Naruto, and I'm reading Boruto. I think that's how you say his name. I have no idea. I'm not thinking straight. But I gotta admit, the actual manga is a lot better than what they gave as the anime. It just felt like they just really went right into it. They kind of skipped a lot of stuff that was in the anime. They didn't have that whole thing with the class representative being forced to do things against the village. And they kind of went right into, I think they did do the Jonin test. It was so long since I read it because I read it weekly. Well, no, it's a monthly series, so I read it monthly. It's not too bad of a story. Like a lot of people don't like it for whatever reason, but I find it's okay. And Baruto is his own person. He's his own character. He doesn't want to be the Hokage. He doesn't he doesn't chase the respect of the village like Naruto did. Gonna adjust something here. I've been reading the Shonen app for a couple of years now, and they do have some pretty good books there. I don't know how many I've read myself, but I've finished a couple of series. I'm not liking this. I'm gonna redo it on a separate layer because I just remember what I wanted to do with this. Well, like I was saying, oh, it's kind of weird. This is something. like I was saying, the Boruto series, at least the manga, is pretty good because again, he's his own character. He's not trying to follow his father's path. He wants to make his own. And but the story is going now, it's like a huge twist because they separated into two different arcs. The first arc, which is basically what was I gonna say? It was just basically when he was like growing up in a village and doing missions, stuff like that, and then they run into Kawaki, which is like the you can say the villain of the story, but he really isn't. He's just somebody that didn't have really anybody, and Naruto gave him like a purpose and home. So that's like his motivation, like he wants to protect them. Alright, I'm gonna check something out here. So this is an hour's worth of work. Right there with the text. Now there was something I was going to add on to right here on the mask. Let's see where I'm going to place this. Probably right about there. Already, well, let me check something. Yeah, there we go. The next one on the screen. Yeah, there we go. Trying to debate. Now, let's see if I lower the opacity, what it looks like. Actually, I'm liking it. I think, at least for right now, I think this is as good as it's gonna be. I have no idea how many layers I did for colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers for colors. And I always group them together. So that way I don't have a bunch of, like a whole list of layers coming down. Like all this right here. I don't want this to be like a huge list of layers I gotta look at, trying to figure out what I was doing. So, not bad. This is about an hour's worth of work. And I think for now, I think I'm pretty much done. Actually, let me save this because I keep forgetting to save. That's a bad thing. I'm going to do a 3D preview. I want you guys to see this. This is what the cover looks like with the bleed and the trims done. And that's one of the things I like about Clip Studio Paint. I got the EX version that you can do a 3D preview of what your book is going to look like. So you see all this white stuff right here. I'm going to have to turn off that effect. So let me see. That's why I tend to use it also a lot, because certain things you don't notice in the actual like drawing that you're making. Let me see if I may do this. It's a highlight. Let me see. Glow. Now it's looking better. Okay, save it again. Let's do another preview. There we go. I got rid of all that white that was here. And this would be the cover for volume 4. Obviously it says right there volume 4. And this is kind of how I wanted to do it. I initially was just gonna make like just it be the head, like just like a cover, taking up the entire cover, and the flames you would see them off the visor. So, a quick preview of the actual comic. So this is all the inks I've done so far. Another reason that I have it as black around the borders is that this is a flashback. Well, not even flashback, it's just the characters after what happened in the first arc from volumes 1 through 3. They're just talking about the past and what got them here. Those are still, like, obviously I still have to ink these, but I was like jumping around on this specific chapter. I wasn't really focused on what I was actually going in order. I was just going to the pages that looked like they were going to be the quickest ones to ink. And this is before I add any tones or any type of, well, this is not really like this is like a special, like some special effects, but it's nothing too much. Like I was able to used to do it right when I was drawing this, when I was inking this, I mean. Let's see. this way the 3D preview is pretty cool, because then you can see how the spine would be. And I still have to do the back cover art and story summary. So I think this is everything for tonight. I'm glad for anybody who joined me on this. This is like one of the first times I'm doing a live that shows my process of doing part of what I do for my comic. I'm going to try to be doing lives every couple of days. I can't constantly be going on because Monday through Friday I work evenings. I basically work from the afternoon through evenings. By the time I get back, I have other responsibilities and I get on late. I don't know who would be up on from Monday through Friday up at like 10:30, 11 o'clock for me to do something like this, but that's like my best time to do it because everything that I have done for the day is already put to the side and I can focus on this without getting any real distractions. But thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.